At the best of times, Jaywick is a town on its knees. The former seaside resort east of London has barely a shop or a doctor, and many people have severe health issues. As elsewhere, several deaths have been reported in a local care home. With the virus among the population everywhere, it sounds like a recipe for disaster. Dealing with the lockdowns proved difficult enough for communities across the UK which have all the things like food and medicines that anybody might ever want, and so you'd assume in a place like this with very limited supplies that things would have been doubly difficult. In fact, though, the story of Jaywick has turned out to be one of triumph over adversity. The first step was to find some money. A mixture of handouts got them to the equivalent of about $3,000, which doesn't sound like much.
So a couple of £1,000 we've got some stock from some of the supermarkets, and so we decided to set up a kitchen here.
Yet with that, they've already cooked hundreds of meals for the old and the sick who can't leave their homes. Stored in a donated freezer after theirs packed up, they did it on a shoestring, and they've still got enough money for several more months.
The guys here obviously are doing pre-packaged meals, so they get delivered to people's doors, to anyone who's isolating for whatever reason, and that means they've got access to hot food. People are out collecting prescriptions for people, and yeah, everybody just mucks in and gets things done.
So this is the unique thing about Jaywick. Having spent years abandoned, they've had to learn to deal with crisis after crisis alone.
Right, how are we looking?
While everywhere else has been forced to change everything, Jaywick believes it can cope with COVID because it doesn't feel much different to how things usually are.
The amount of people that have put their hand in their pocket and gave me food, clothing and items to give to people. I've had televisions, I've had mobility scooters, I've had bags and bags of shopping, like 6 or 7 bags, and that is basically how we're overcoming this and what we're doing as a community to help others. Nothing will ever stop us, no COVID-19. Jaywick will still help each other, whatever the weather.
18 months ago, the United Nations Human Rights Rapporteur visited Jaywick and ended up condemning the British government for keeping the population in poverty. Nothing whatsoever came out of it, which was what Jaywick expected to happen. They do a good job of ignoring the fact that they hardly have anything. It seems to make the virus that bit less frightening. Laurence, Aljazeera, Jaywick.